Good morning. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and sending to the officially designated newspapers indicating that the meeting would take place at the community center at 9 a.m. in the state. The fire exits are located in the far right corner in the back and to my immediate left in the front. Per Resolution 156-20, establishing rules of conduct and quorum for public meetings, please be advised of the following. All members of the public must state for the record their name and address before addressing mayor and council. Roll call.
Councilman Aguilar?
Here.
Councilman Haynes?
Here.
Councilman Hurley?
Here.
Councilman McDonald?
Here.
Councilman Slughtbauer?
Here.
Council President Preside?
Here.
Pledge allegiance.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, last week, we talked about capital and, came to finalizing that. Today, we're hoping to finalize the budget. And then certainly, I'll turn it over to Patty, who will give us an update of where we are and, where the extra steps that we may or may not need to be taking.
Oh, me. Okay. So where we're at right now is, and now we're just talking regular budget, not the capital. 2.65 got down to. Worked with the auditor, looked at a few things. So I'm gonna run over items that increased, just kind of what's happening, and then I'll go over the revenues on how, what we utilized and how we got to the 2.65. Okay, in the police line item, these are changes since I've given you your books. In the police item, years ago, police cars had to be budgeted in the regular budget because you cannot go out for bonding for passenger vehicles. But a lot of police departments have moved over to SUVs, and SUVs are able to be put into be bonded. So that we are not purchasing police cars, I took the line item for $49,500 and took it out of the budget, and I'm putting the whole car or the whole SUV into capital, where we used to kind of split between the two. The recreation part-time salaries, I reduced that by $18,000 because we're only gonna be needing, looks like, lifeguards during the swim competitions. So I did reduce that by $18,000. I believe I mentioned this last time, engineering, I added a new line under it for DEP permits. We have permits coming up due for Able Oil property and for the Riverbank project. The fire department incentives, we did add a new line for $2,200 for tuition reimbursement and gym memberships. We are at budgeting $15,000 for our property maintenance, how we're gonna be handling our property maintenance. Just so you know, pension went up 6%, insurances went up, the group and the general liability went up 12%. And on the group insurance, that includes, it sounds like a lot, but last year, we have 2 employees that are not waiving anymore and that are taking it, so some of it is because we're doing additional people. Police salaries have gone up 15%. Dispatch, I added $5,000 for the fire department's proposal for the extra radios, because if we do get those radios, it's $200 a year per radio. RVRSA went up 50%. Last year it was a little over 400,000. It went up to 600,000. Electricity, I put in an additional $8,000 because in my CFO chats, they're saying figure about a 17% increase in electricity. Social Security, I went up 11%, giving the increase in the salaries. I need to make sure I just have enough money to cover Social Security. Okay, so that is the items of the regular budget. Then to look.
Excuse me, you said Social Security went up how much?
11%. Okay, so then so now on the revenue side. So, talking with Kathy, last year, we used in our budget $775,000 in fund balance. The whole point of fund balance is you always wanna try to make sure you make that, if not exceed it, you know, when, in the year to make sure it lapsed. So we did use 775,000, but we did lapse in $1,753,000. So as long as we're lapsing in as much as we're taking out, we're in a good situation. Our current fund balance as of December 31st of 2024 is $5,385,65.
Say that again, Patty.
Okay, $5,385,765.
Thank you.
Okay, so talking with Kathy this year, again, you know, we looked at, in cannabis, we did collect in 2024 a total of 281,000. The number that I gave you of 2.65% includes us using 200 of that 200 of the cannabis money. Again, for the 2025 budget to help offset. We could use up to an additional 50%, for a total of 250 if, you know, through this, and that could help us get to our 2% if that's where we need to go, if we need that. If you look at the budget that we'll be proposing is the fund balance is, normally our fund balance is, we do $575,000. Again, last year we did the additional 2. This year our fund balance is gonna be $1,025,000, and the additional 250,000 is, that's just me moving the Vanderhoof settlement money. I have to take it out of fund balance and move it over, so we're utilizing right now 775,000, and the other portion of it is to move the money over to capital to fund the various roads projects. We're also going to be taking $700,000 out of sewer reserve, and that is to our capital projects that we spoke about. It's about $500,000. It's half of the duty truck and the sewer project for, I always have to say this slowly, West New Street. Yeah, so between those two items, that's $500,000. So instead of going out for debt, we're looking to use, to take the 700 from that. The additional 200 from that we're putting towards revenue because of the increase in the sewer cost from RVRSA, and again, partly why we're looking at our having the auditor do the audit on our fees, just to make sure that we're covering everything, because it is falling short. Let's see, make sure I ran through everything. Oh, capital improvement fund. I have $850,000 in the budget. How I'm breaking that down, 50,500 of it is small cap. The $250,000, and this is where the actual moving is, I'm taking the revenue side of 250. The 250 here is me moving it out. The 400 and the duty truck, the $500,000 for the from the sewer reserve, that's part of this also. Again, the revenue side, I'm bringing it in, and here's where I'm taking it and sending it over to the capital projects. And then 50,000 of that is for the 5% down payment as required for our general capital projects. That being said, I believe that was everything I had.
Prior to last week, we were like, what percent were we at last week before you started diving into this?
Before I started, I was at like 7%. But again, we were able to, also partly what helped with that is we were able to move a portion of the health benefits outside cap. So again, we took all our tools and came up with this, so that's what I have.
What's 1 point usually, what's that estimate, like 1 point?
A point equals, I think it's like 71,000.
7,000? So that 50,000 would get us below?
50, the way I'm figuring 50,000 should either get you right at 2 or just below 2, you know, give or take a little.
Who's been the target, forever, it's not dictated, but that's been our, that's what we've been doing.
I'm sorry, I did want to make one more comment about this. The cannabis money, as we said, right now, we're not putting it in the budget, and we are doing it through fund balance. The auditor wanted a couple of years to see where it would fall before we make it a permanent revenue. But even though it's not a revenue line item, it's getting treated like our revenues. All our revenues in our budget are all what we're assuming we're gonna get. It's kind of the same thing with cannabis. So we're not doing anything with the cannabis money that we're not just doing all our revenues. We assume how much we think we're gonna get, and then at the end of the year, we see if we got to collect it or not. So, again, it's being treated like a revenue, it's just that we're not giving it official line item right now.
Have we seen a big increase in the court since we moved?
I don't know if it's real big, I would have to,
I think we just had the usual increases, I think it was 2% or whatever it was,
I think he's talking about collection.
collection.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
Patty, is there any opportunity this year on the revenue side for ratables with the Able Oil situation?
So, we did have ratables that we accounted for, we got it about, I think it was, I don't wanna even guess right now, my brain has been on overload. I'd have to look that up and get the ratables, but yeah, we did utilize the ratables. I did sit down with Jason yesterday and was trying to project what our ratables will be for this year, trying to see like if Starbucks is gonna be done, we're trying to look to see if Wendy's is gonna be done. Not quite sure, it doesn't look like RPM is gonna be done. The other one is like 200 West Main's gonna be done, so we do have projects.
That are done?
Right, but if they're renovations, they might not be as much as new builds, so, we're just kind of, right, so
Positive
we
side
did,
of it.
right, so we did kind of have a conversation that there could be some ratables coming in, but again, until they're done, it's just speculation.
Okay.
But we are hoping for more for next year,
Mhm.
so.
Not to throw any cold water on that, but, I did see an email from the state DOT that they're suspending all projects on Route 10 and Route 46 until the Route 80 problem is resolved. So that could hurt both Wendy's and Starbucks.
Okay. That didn't hear that.
Just-
Microphones, please.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry
Thanks.
about that.
That's okay.
I did see an email from at work about suspension of projects on Route 10 and Route 46.
As far as services from the road to
Yeah.
certain
Yeah,
distances.
DOT suspending all projects. I don't know how long it's gonna be for, but I did see it.
That's good. Orchard Holdings is pretty much made a mess on 46 and,
That Wendy's site looks dreadful. Is
Yeah.
it, like, what's the deal?
I think they're on the third, we
Yeah,
just got
they're-
yet another new contractor for it.
any thoughts, any going through the budgets, any additional cuts?
If I may, I did meet with the fire chief on Wednesday evening and went through the two items that we were questioning last week. The radios are really a necessity. I feel very strongly about it once it was explained to me. Where there are paid firefighters with unions, these radios are non-negotiable. What we're using right now are single band radios that are really walkie-talkies. They don't talk to anyone outside of, Rockaway Borough. And I think from a safety standpoint, we owe it to the fire department, our cherished volunteers, to give them this protection, because if one of them goes down in a fire, the walkie-talkies we have right now do nothing, whereas these radios, we can get to them. So, and it's not really an opportunity to do this in like a phased approach. So I really think that while it is a big ticket item, I really do support us funding that. I also spoke to the chief about the rescue tool. We had two potential fires this week alone. One was right on Wall Street where the fire chief was about to take his axe and break the door down, and there was a second incident of just that. They were both cooking mishaps, but the guy on Wall Street had fallen asleep and the whole apartment was full of smoke. So these tools to get somebody out of a car or a building, I think it's also a critical thing. I did discuss lessening the number that was requested of 5, and the chief said 3 would be a good start. They would put them in the chief's car, the ladder truck, and the rescue truck. So I just wanted to report on that.
But in addition to that, Melissa, we've also got lift bags in there, we've got an exhaust system for the firehouse itself. We've also got the continuation of turnout gear and 2 cylinders with the Scott pack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed. I was just addressing the 2.
yeah, I mean, reducing it by a couple on the rescue tools, but maintaining that capital budget as requested, I think is critical for us at this point.
I'm gonna keep saying, cause about the mics, I can't hear, if you're gonna speak, can you please turn on the mics? Thank you. I've also gotten complaints
They
from.
go on and they go off.
Well then, maybe we should talk about it in the budget, like I said before, I'm sorry, I mean, we have a right to hear.
So, any comments regarding the budget, where we are, what we need to give back, where we wanna be?
So we need to cut 50,000, basically.
If we
You
wanna
don't
be
have to, I mean, we do have with the,
Oh, if we wanna hit 2%, we
Correct.
need to cut.
there you go.
Okay.
Have you had any discussions with the department heads?
As far as, I mean, everybody stayed flat, so no, I really didn't. I mean, other than, I did discuss with the recreation director if he really needed the money for the, part-timers, but otherwise, everybody,
And then the police with the car,
and the police with the car, yeah.
moving that over to capital.
So, I mean, I did take some stuff out, and I did inform them, or talk to them about them.
What was the decision we made with the loader?
That's that,
So we're still 50,000
So
left.
just so you
with
know,
that.
that's capital.
That's capital.
Anything that's under your capital tab doesn't affect the 2%.
Real quick, Patty, I had to mention this before, I gotta go back to that dumpster. If we take that 6,000 out of the recycling trust, that's only $6,000, but it's a start.
I would have to check and see if that is an acceptable item to be purchased, because again, we're not using it for recycling, we're using it for removal of dirt.
Yeah, but we're recycling the spoils, so it probably could fall in that category. It's not a lot of money, but it's a start.
right.
So Patty, the canvas 280K, we're moving to using 200K. Does the auditor say they think it's okay to use the 50K? You feel comfortable with the
Wait,
250?
run that again?
So out of cannabis 281K, we're using the 200K, and you said that the auditor was okay, feels comfortable using 50K of it, or?
I told her about us using it, yeah, I mean, again, her thing is always do I feel like I will get it back? And again, just like any revenues, it's anticipated, we collected 281, I'm hoping it's gonna be higher than 281 next year, I'm hoping that, the, one dispensary starts picking it up, cause obviously one is doing very well, the other one is still trying, so.
You know, I hope that as well, but there's a cannabis store, like,
Right down the street.
everywhere now, at the mall, you know, 46 in Dover. You know, for a while, we were the only game in town in Morris County, so I don't
And I
know.
think that's where he lucked out, I think he got his base from that, and yeah, and I think his following is sticking with him,
Yeah, he seems to be doing pretty well, Chad Cush.
yeah. again, that's why we're not looking to put it as an official revenue yet, because if it does take a turn, we don't wanna have to
I
take
think
it out.
it's too risky.
Yeah.
281K is already money earned in 2024, or is this assumption money for 2025?
The 281 is what we physically collected
Okay.
in 2024, and that's why I'm making an assumption that we at least bring that back in.
For 2025?
If not
Okay,
more, yeah.
okay.
Patty, is the number for the library the actual
Yes.
number for this year? Cause they got a bump.
Yeah. So that number's dictated by.
So last year they were 329,000, this year they're 345.
Yeah, that number is dictated by the state.
Yeah.
And while you guys are flipping on, just the other thing I should just really, and I think we had a brief conversation about this, because we did the ordinance for it, but we did hire a custodian as opposed to doing Jan Pro, and that is saving us about $15,000, so.
And that will be used for the library as well?
So library, yes, so the money that we put aside does not include the library, they will pay their own.
No,
But they are.
Because I know they were also concerned.
Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, it'll be working for them also.
Patty, if you plug that 50,000 in one spring, it's a little below 2, you said, or right at 2? Just
Yeah, again, I'm saying the percent is 71,000.
So it's right about 2 or a little below, right?
Yeah, right around 2, if not, I can think it was maybe a little lower.
Question for the clerk. What are codification updates?
The general code book and all the legal, things that go into that as well.
Thank you.
We reprint twice a year.
She could. Sorry.
Patty, do you think we need the 20 grand for the consultant planner?
So, yes, because this year with the COA, for fourth round, they have to do a report that's gonna cost $14,000.
Thank
So-
you.
So Pat, I think we made most of the cuts, so either we save 2 points, the way I look at it, because maybe 3 options, 2.65 we stay. If we use 25 that 50, maybe 2.3, and if we use 50, we get that 2 or a little up 1, so.
Yeah, I mean.
I recommend, I think that's some of our options, right, 3 options, from what I see.
I don't see much here to move.
Yeah, I mean, now, after you get beyond this, now you're into critical services.
Yeah.
And when you start messing there, then that has a downstream effect. But I would say, Patty, to the department heads, that kudos on keeping their budget flat. I mean, it's a tough time. We all know what inflation looks like right now.
Well, yeah, again, with everything going up and us being able to maintain less than 2% the last couple of years, does save a lot.
Are we sure the low stop's gonna hit 40,000?
So I reduced, oh, I'm sorry, did I not give you that? I'm sorry, I may have missed over that. So low SAP, I did reduce it by 12, I put it down to 35, I believe, or 30. Yeah, because we did it for 32 this year, that was charged out, so, I believe I reduced it down to, do I have it in here, the number? To 35,000. 32.
Well, listen, Patty, when you talked to the fire chief, did you discuss anything about the ongoing maintenance and repairs to the three vehicles? Is the number in there sufficient? Because those vehicles are, especially the fire trucks,
We're not looking at it.
are starting to age out.
No, I think they were clear on
They were
the
good.
numbers that they presented.
I reduced that, those up to 34,000. So that is, again, when I was trying to go through, seeing what I think could be, you know.
In your discussions with Director O'Connor, was there money budgeted for repairs and upgrades for Park Lake? I know we were talking about redoing the path, removing the sand and reducing the size of the beach.
No money, just whatever money he has currently, and
Whatever resources.
And I think, again, my understanding is we're gonna be doing most of the work, and it's just gonna be maybe planting some plants, so
Right.
I don't think
That's what I'm
it's
saying,
anything that's gonna be.
Using existing, budget as well as resources.
Okay, so he's got that covered.
Okay.
Jim, I agree with you, I just don't see anything, aside from starting to cut into some vital things that can be cut to the point of, cutting into a $50,000 difference.
I agree, I think we see about three options, so I think we just,
What do you recommend?
maybe definitely using 25 to 50, which is about 2.3, or I would even go use the 50,000 to give us either a 2 or below 2. So I think we can make a little slight adjustment either to 2.3, using 25 more thousand, or again, using 50. So a couple options in between. I would like to get the 2 or below 2 to keep it, and I believe me, we cut a lot, and we're providing everything that is needed for safety. So that's my 2 recommendations. So I'd just like to see what everybody else thinks.
Can I make one last comment before you guys go around again? Again, every time, since I've been here, can't speak for before I was here, but every time, whatever fund balance we use, we've always exceeded it. So using that extra 50, I'm, again, pretty confident that we will exceed putting that back. So if it's gonna help now, I think, again, look at this year, we put $1 million more than we borrowed, so, and again, what that comes from is lapsing of so next year would be whatever lapse from our 22 budget, anything that exceeds any of our, revenues, so I'm thinking, that the 50 wouldn't be really hard to make back up.
That's money that's being given back to the residents.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is,
the key.
sorry, this is out of the cannabis bin you're talking about?
Yeah, so moving the cannabis from 281K instead of 200, but moving it to 250 of the 281K, using it.
That works for me.
Councilman Slocum,
Sounds good to me.
Councilman Hurley,
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Councilman Agliano,
Seems like the only option, I vote for that.
Council President.
So we're gonna be at what percentage?
So we'll probably get it, again, I don't have the exact thing to do it here, but I'm thinking that should get 2, if not a little less.
Then let's do that.
So you're gonna put 50? That's the deal?
Yeah, so
So
the
we're-
total canvas being used will be 250,000. And again, I'm saying cannabis, I'm gonna use an additional money based on the fact that we're thinking we're gonna get that back. So it's really not literally using cannabis money, it's just that we're trying to figure out how we're gonna retain it and get it back, and that's.
Use revenue.
That's our game plan.
Using revenue, yeah. I vote.
Alright, so then, are you good with the current budget, then that's, okay. Then do we just wanna eyeball the capital one last time and see what you want, are we gonna do the extra 3 forcible entries? Or are we gonna leave it how we left it last week? Or
I
any
think
changes
we had
in
2
time?
in there, correct?
We had one.
One.
Yeah, we have one.
For 3.
that gonna bring us, what does that bring us to now?
Basically, an additional $5,000.
500?
Because I think they're $2,400 each, I wanna say. $2,470 each, so about $5,000. That would go up.
And the
And again, I can go over, so, just to go over that again.
This is what I had this week. Took out the loader.
So I cleaned it all up, so, if we do the 5,000, so it would be general capital would be 820,000, for general capital, 484,000 for water capital, and again, just remind you that the 500 for the RPM will be there. So our total debt that would be going out for would be basically a little over 1.8 million.
Thanks. You said 820 for the general, waters for, what's water?
44.
44. That's 1.34, and 500, okay, for the RPM.
And that's the band. That 1.8 is the new band.
Well, yes, for 2025. And again, the only change I have here too is, just to reiterate, I upped the police, we reduced it down to 1, but then I put the whole car in there, so now the car is, we have, for police capital is $91,000 for a car. Plus, $91,000 for the car, for the large cab.
But we're getting them both, right? You're putting for two, or we're
No,
running?
we're putting it, no,
Just
one
that one-
SUV,
one
right, I'm
SUV.
just moving, remember I told you it took 50,000 out of the regular, I had to add it in here, so
Okay,
that did up the,
got it.
SUV, so it reduced, but at 91. That's all I have.
So basically, a third of our cap money is going to go in.
Yeah.
Close.
40%.
Yeah, and I'm done, my brain, sorry,
Yeah, so.
I'm on
45%.
number overload.
That's not good.
Did we just include the 3 entry tools?
I don't know. Did
With
we-
3 or 2?
Who said 3? You said,
Fire department's requesting a decrease from 5 to 3.
I think we were at 1.
Yeah, so they went at 5, we went to 1, where are we going? Just give me a number and I'll fix the
So
books.
can we go to 2? Is that possible? One for the chief, one for a truck?
Yeah, I don't know whether
How much?
25 each.
they agreed.
2,500?
2,600.
All right, 26.
I say go to 3.
I agree.
Well, with 3, it puts 1 on each one of the major trucks.
The chief, the ladder truck, and the rescue
yeah.
truck.
Right, I mean, I'd hate somebody to suffer a loss because we were
Yeah.
short one on a truck.
I agree, 3.
So that's $7,800.
It's a good
That's
figure.
$7,800.
The chief is first on scene, truck is going out of town.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It goes
you know,
together.
God
And that's
forbid
because-
he's away or something.
Correct, correct.
So unless we have nothing else, I think we have a final. Doing the 250 for the current, for the fund balance, and changing, to 3, personal entry tools,
Mhm.
and that's where the numbers are.
So we go up another 52 because we went up 2 on the entry tools, right?
I was kind of saying it out loud, I was adding
Right,
5,000 under
yeah.
the assumption that you were gonna do, I was under the assumption.
And now that, the regular, going back to the regular budget, that includes all of our salary increases,
Everybody's?
everybody's?
Yep. And knowing that we're negotiating.
Even those we are negotiating?
Yeah, I have an adjustment line for what we're
Okay,
kind of projecting that's gonna be at.
thank you.
And that's for DPW you're referring everybody.
I was referring to something else as well.
I'm done.
I'm good with that, okay.
Councilman Haynes?
Again, Patty, great job, Catherine, really give Catherine our thanks, and I know we do pay her, but it's a great benefit to have her and Lisa Vachi on our side, so thank you for all your hard work.
Yes.
Councilman
Yeah,
Allen?
agree, I think did a great job with all the department heads, cutting where we need to get down to local as well as, general cap, so good job.
Councilman Slaughter?
Tough year, but it's tight, it's gotta be what it's gotta
I
be.
think it's the toughest year we've had in quite a while.
It's very difficult, but yeah, we have to move on. But I do request a closed session for personnel.
Councilman Early?
Again, Patty, you lead the team, all of the directors, and I think everybody, I know everybody, is committed to giving us the best value with the best amount of service, and yeah, it's a tough budget this year, it's gonna be a tough budget probably in the next couple of years. But I think the way that we've allocated the funds supports the community, supports our departments, and keeps us moving forward. So I sincerely thank you, Patty, because I know how much you put into this with all the department heads and Catherine, and great job, that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Councilman Aguilar?
Patty, thank you and your team for all the hard work. These are tough decisions that have to be made, and I think we're all in agreement that they're for the best for our community. So, thanks.
Council President?
I think it's a very responsible budget. I think that Patty and the team have done a great job. I think that we are, maintaining essential services with departments that are flat from last year despite all of the increases in inflation, everything. This is health insurance, pensions, trash, we've got these big things that we have to pay for. But I think we've done a good job for our citizens, and I think that, we should be proud of this budget.
Thank you, Patty. Thanks to the council, thanks to the department heads for all the work that's gone into this. It's never easy to get started on this, fourth quarter of last year, meeting with them, so. It's if you think about a half year's effort in between, fourth quarter last year, first quarter this year, here we are, so,
A lot of looking at.
thank you.
So, with that being said, we'll be looking to introduce next Thursday, March 13th, adoption date of April 10th, 11th, 10th, or whatever that Thursday is. I think it's the 10th or the 11th of April, the first meeting of April. And again, I say this every year, I can't do this without the department heads working with me. I think all your department heads are very passionate about the town, and they just don't buy to buy. They truly, stay within their budgets. They do everything in their budgets to, stay there and maintain their budgets. And I don't know what else to say except I have to thank them too for all their work.
Great job by everyone.
Keep in mind, the budgets that the department heads put together have remained flat, virtually, within.
Well, give or take, yeah.
Give or take a very small amount for the last 3 years, and we've been watching that.
So the flat, they stay flat unless we have what we're having happen this year, SDL. The state is mandating that people be able to go online and do stuff online, so now we have to get SDL, so we're mandated to get a program. So those are the things that are driving us to go up, not the fact that they're buying additional office supplies, or, you know what I mean, or other things like that. It's truly driven by mandates that we have to meet and programs we may need to meet those mandates.
But I mean, when you talk about finance and you talk about business and you talk about operations, the old cliche comes in, can you do more with less? Well, if you clock the last 36 months and the last 3 budget cycles and you're remaining flat, just look at the economy and the inflation that goes up with everything from utilities to fuel to supplies to services. And that's where I really compliment Patty and our department heads, because they're giving you the definition and they're showing you what it means when they can maintain a flat budget year to year and still provide exceptional service to every one of our residents that are out there. That's a hallmark. It's a case study.
I'd also like to mention that our forward thinking regarding cannabis really helped us here. I mean, without that cannabis, we're probably looking at a 6.5% increase. So,
Again, we've got stuff that-
I think it was great that we all foresaw what was coming in the future and actually tried to do the best with what we did. We limited the number of supply houses, I guess we'll call them, and we did limit them to the highway, which I think is the right thing for us all. So thank you all for good forward thinking on that.
Thank you. I'd like to open the meeting to the public.
Hello, Katie Clark, 66 West Flag Street. Hello, happy Saturday. Thank you for all of that information, it was really helpful. Mr. Haynes first, with nothing to do with the budget really. Thank you for that update on 46 about the DOT and them stopping. You said you heard that at work.
Yeah, I got an email at work about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything online. But thank you, that's good to know, like, because didn't they just announce something with Senator Bucco, like it was supposed to start a few weeks ago with those sensors?
Again, I was kind of really busy, I just happened to see it and quickly read it. I didn't see whose names are on there or who said, but it was the DOT that made the suggestion.
Okay, I mean, that's good to know. I was driving along there recently, like last weekend, just thinking, oh, all these projects are probably planned already before anything at 80 happened, so, okay, anyway, that's a side note. I wanted to ask about the cannabis revenue. So you got 281,000 in last year. You're going to use 250 of it. The remaining 31 stays in the fund balance. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what are you estimating for this year? I know it's sort of it's not officially on the budget, but you are anticipating it to pop back in. Is it that 250? That's what you're earmarking?
So Mayor, so what it is we're using 250,000 more of surplus.
Yes.
The auditor's first question, how do you think you're gonna make that up? And I'm thinking cannabis. I'm saying that we got 281 last year.
Okay.
And that I'm hoping to get that, if not exceed that. And that's.
Yeah. No, that's good. Just because I think that's, like you mentioned before, that's how you're going to sort of do it for the next couple of years, just to see how it goes. But that,
Again, with all these places opening up, we don't know, even Kind Kush could start to go down. As we start seeing that trend, we don't want to put that line item in there and then have to take it out. So it's better to do it out of the surplus and kind of monitor for a couple of years.
okay, great. Just from what I know, it's the most popular. We see that in the taxes that we get, but also you mentioned there's ones in other towns. There's like 3 or 4 in the stretch of 46. They've got the best prices. They've been around. They've been open a year longer than everybody else. There's loads of parking there. Like, just in terms of thinking about that from a community standpoint, people are willing to drive that extra 5 minutes from Dover to the borough because it's cheaper. But anyway, so you mentioned the library budget, and it had gone out, and it gets given to the library. Who manages the library budget? So whatever money comes from the town, the 345, how does then that, are the conversations about that, like similar to this?
Yes, so there's a library board meeting once a month. It's open to the public. There's a treasurer who gives a treasurer's report during each meeting. And they, are very thoughtful about their budget always waiting to see what the formula will be for this, something of a mill that they, third of a mill formula that's elusive, but, it's set and they're very thoughtful about it.
Okay, thank you. But will there be an official 2025 budget discussion?
Yes, there already has been.
Okay.
So we are only required to collect it for them,
Yeah.
but they totally control it. We have no say over their budget,
Okay, perfect.
like the Board of Ed.
Yeah. Speaking of the Board of Ed, but they were in a few weeks ago at a council meeting, and then they just had a meeting and they were going through the finances and everything like that. I was there for something else. My son had a game. Every single one of the teachers was at that meeting last week. Don't know if anyone knows anything about it, but just, it was full. So they were given the 2024 reports and
That's certainly a wild card, you know, obviously we do what we can municipal, but the Board of Ed, it's
Yeah, we have no say on theirs.
You know, we try to keep it within certain thresholds, but, you know, sometimes.
I know.
And I also believe that the teachers were there supporting one of their own who had retired, and there was some kind of discussion regarding compensation that I think they were there to support.
Okay. There are some rumblings around, I know that. The grants, the federal grants or the state grants that you've sort of anticipated in the budget, did you mention, I think at the last meeting, that those have come in, or you have numbers for those?
Yeah, so we don't put it in the budget till we get the award of the grant.
Okay.
Because if we don't get the grant, then we rethink the project. Do we need it? You know, should we go out for another grant? So the ones that we have that have grants in it, the Franklin Phase 1, as we're calling it, we have that grant award, so we are getting it. We are requesting for Franklin Phase 2,
Yeah.
and we're just waiting.
How much is that one for, Franklin Phase 2?
We don't, so we apply, we don't know
Oh,
until
okay.
it comes in. Franklin Phase 1 was for $218,000.
Okay. And then the CDBG one, the East New, that's
Yeah, that's,
is that still good?
so we got finally the 2024, and it's like a weird number, like 78,700, I don't have that exact number off the top of my head. But we don't know if that's gonna be moving forward. That sounds like some of the stuff that got cut by the president, so we were waiting for 2025 to do a second project, but we are waiting to hear. Usually we have the application, right now they haven't put out the applications.
Okay. Does any of the stuff that's been cut affect the hazardous waste grant for Able Oil?
Staff that was cut.
No, the stuff.
Oh, staff, I'm sorry, I thought you said staff.
Yeah.
For the stuff that was cut.
Like, so you're talking about all the CBDG
So,
grants?
no, so the only thing we have to pay on the Able Oil right now is because it's a contaminated site, there is a DEP permit that we have to pay each year.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing we're budgeting for.
Okay.
The other stuff, was a 100% grant that we did receive for $840,000, which I reported last year. And that's for that remediation, testing that they're doing. But we didn't budget any additional money for Able Oil project.
But you did report it last year. Have we received the money yet?
Yes, we received the money. It's one of those grants that you don't start the project until you get the money, which is nice. So we got the money now, and now the remediation, the process is starting.
Yeah, when they starting?
I don't know.
Soonish?
Well, again, they're not remediating.
Yeah,
This
no,
grant is just to
assessment,
deter, right,
Yeah.
so.
I know
yeah,
that
so
you've got all of those things
Yep.
in place.
I just got the money a couple weeks ago, so probably if it's not starting yet, it'll be starting soon.
Okay, thank you. We had mentioned that there's 20K in the budget for the planner to do the housing element and fair share plan. It's due in probably June.
Yes.
Yes. Would it be possible, it's not really a budget thing, if it doesn't include that, to have the planner come in, whether it's at a council meeting or otherwise, to give a high level presentation of that?
So probably, we're going through the whole process. I'm sure we'll probably have some type of report on not the whole fourth round.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get some type of report that we can get, or have Golden come or something that will give But it's, an ongoing process, and June is, I think, our next deadline, but once we have official, I mean, we will get some type of report out to where we actually landed, cause last February 20th, I'm trying to get my dates here, February 20th, was the last day for anybody to appeal the number from the state that we went for, and they didn't appeal our numbers, so we're moving forward with those numbers that we reported.
Okay. Yeah, that's just more of a sort of a side note. If it's not sort of
Just part of the
outside of the
process.
scope of doing the report, yes, I know it's like a 60-something page, but if Golden can come in and do 20 minutes and just high level it for you all and the public, that would be great. 2 more questions, I think. The tree fund, you had mentioned at the last council meeting about having, since before you were here, that whenever you got money for trees that were cut down, that they went into separate funds. Is that correct?
Right.
How many funds do we have, and what's the
It
total?
was 2.
Just 2?
Yeah, 2, and I think the total, when I gave the amount, it was included, I included all, because once I officially had this back from the state that it's a true tree, I'm gonna move all the money into the fund.
Okay,
It will all move into the
so that's
one.
right. I think there's 25 in the shade tree and then 11 in another tree fund. So if it goes into this dedicated trust fund, then any additional money that comes in is all gonna go in there, right?
Correct.
So the resolution that you had on the agenda said that you're anticipating those funds this year, right? So that'll be the trees for RPM, a tree payment?
No, we're not getting a tree payment from RPM.
Not RPM, I'm sorry, the other one, Ridgeview.
On 46,
Yeah,
on the other side of 46.
that's where the additional tree payment's gonna come from, right?
I don't work with the tree
I
applications.
don't know where that stands, I mean, I don't have it.
But that was discussed, I think, at the last.
So, yeah, put it this way, anything that would come in from those, whatever, whoever, it would go into that trust fund.
Okay,
That answers your question.
yeah, and how does that, just more generally, it's not, how is it gonna be used, because it has to be used for trees, but the way that that resolution read was that then you can recognise that revenue in the 25 budget if you put it in this type of fund, is that right? Or am I just,
No, it's a trust.
it's just a
It
trust,
doesn't go into our general,
nothing to do with the budget?
Nothing
in
with
that
budget.
sense.
Nope, nothing with
Okay.
the budget.
Perfect. That's a different question for the council meeting. You talked about salary increases. I know you did this last year because you were negotiating for the police CBA and the white collar ones. So the DPW ones are now ongoing. Mr. Haynes touched upon something where I was talking about something else. I don't know whether that's a closed session discussion, but how much, I guess, are you anticipating in the adjustments, if you've got that?
So part of the discussion about the 15,000 was for property maintenance for fire marshal.
Oh,
and
right.
The new folks starting in June to do
Okay.
the property
Out
maintenance.
of, okay, that's the health agreement, okay. Oh, the RPM bond that you went out for, is it because, were you anticipating on going out for that last year, or was it always planned in 25? Because you put it on the agenda like last December, but had to put it back on again
Okay,
because it,
so what happened was we had to reintroduce it, so when we did the bond ordinance, there was
Yeah.
a paper I needed to file that I did not file.
okay,
So to make it legal, I had to redo it, so I filed the paper. So
so,
it's just a paperwork thing, and I just wanted to make sure we had it in correctly. So
Okay.
we just reintroduced it, it's not an addition, if anything, it replaced it.
but if you had done it and it had gone through at the end of last year,
We wouldn't have went out till this year anyway.
okay,
We only go out for what's called bans,
Yeah.
anticipation notes once a year. So that came after we went for the bond
Uh-huh.
anticipation note for last year, so it was always planned to go out for 2025.
perfect.
Unless actually RPM demanded it, then I would have had to go out for a special ban. But they've been very cooperative with that, so far so good.
Okay. And then Pot Lake, you said there's no additional budget being put in there for changing the lake area? Are there no like engineering fees or anything to discuss what that's gonna be and what they can do?
It's just reducing the size of the beach, they had a discussion about it, and it's just a matter of our guys going out there and reducing.
Using existing recreation budget as well as town resources like DPW.
Would we not have to get some sort of permit, given that it's next to fresh water?
That I do not know the answer to.
Just because I was looking at the Jackson Avenue riverbank stabilization plans recently, and if it's, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, I'm not an environmental expert, but if you're changing land near fresh water that's regulated by the DEP, would you not need some sort of permit to change that?
Oh yeah, when I was reporting that, I put additional funds in the engineering for DEP permits.
Okay.
That was for,
Oh, that's
that was
what
for
it's
Jackson Ave, yeah.
Okay. But
We
is
actually had to get 2 separate permits for, I think, a fresh water and a flood mitigation, I believe, were the 2 permits we had to get for them.
So have you done any of that for Pot Lake for this year? No? No additional money for DEP permits?
I think we're just, again, I don't know the plans 100%. If we're just removing sand, we might not need to get it. I think Jackson Ave was more because we're actually working with the actual riverbank. I think if they're just removing sand and putting up, I don't know if
Okay.
permit would be needed, but we'll double check that with the engineer.
Yeah, I think that might be something we just want to follow up on, assuming that, I mean, there's a dam and everything there, like, feels like Fleetwood, and flooding and everything. Okay, and then, one last thing, just, George, stop it.
Sorry.
You mentioned it, but maybe I just want to clarify. So some of the biggest increases that you've seen, I know it's been a tough budget year, but some of the biggest increases have been like the trash and garbage and stuff like that, and tipping fees and, yes?
So trash, we had a contract for it, so that didn't go up from last year.
Okay.
It's just the tipping fees that are hitting us.
Okay, and then health insurance, you mentioned?
Health insurance, like I said, it's 12%, but it's not necessarily an increase in, we had 2 additional, and I think I explained this last time, I was budget more because we have people waiving,
Yeah,
and 2 that were waiving, well, 1 left, and the person we replaced is taking insurance, and another person switched over.
okay.
So we have 2 more people, so that 12% also absorbs picking up 2 more people.
Okay, and then another sort of big cost was the duty truck, is that right, $500,000? Is that how much it is?
No, duty truck's only like,
No, that's part of the water project.
Oh,
yeah.
no, was it, what was something else that was a high?
Oh, okay, no, I know what you're thinking. I took $500,000 from the sewer reserve for the
Duty
duty truck and, which that's only about $40-some thousand,
Listen,
the
East
Uh,
Street.
West New Street sewer man, I hope that's it, so, there's a project that we're doing down there for about $450,000, give or take.
and then yeah, I think that's it. That's a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'd be a badass duty truck.
Yeah, really.
That's a lot of duty.
It's an expensive duty truck.
Wait, I don't think they're done yet.
I've been sitting here asking and no one's.
Well, everybody was talking, I'm sorry, we're a little slow for you this morning, Mayor, we apologize. Go ahead, George.
George Schuster, 215 Andrea Drive in Rockaway. Couple of quick questions. The $1.8 million debt that we have, correct? How do we pay that back? Is that included in this budget here that's right now at 2% or somewhere?
No, so what happens is we go out what's called again, a bond anticipation note.
Mhm.
So when we do these budgets each year, we go out for debt. We, do the budget, we decide what's gonna go out for debt. I will borrow that money for 1 year, get an interest rate. All we do is we pay only the interest on it. I can do that up for 10 years. After 10 years, we have to go out for what's called permanent bonding, like a mortgage almost. So right now, the last time we went out for permanent bonding was in 2021. So these will now sit in probably in about 10 years, 2030-ish, 31, we'll go out for another bond. And by that time, that bond will hopefully be completely almost gone. And then we'll roll all this debt that we're doing into a permanent bond. And then again, same thing, once that permanent bond's done, we then start paying on principal on that. And then that next 10 years, we're doing bands again until that point. So,
Kind of getting that, but we're paying the interest just now, so how does, when you say in 10 years, that bond will almost be gone? Or
well, the
that debt?
bond that I got in 2021. So in 2021, I rolled all our debt together. Let's go back to 2021. I
Okay.
rolled all our debt together. and now we have a so-called, and I'll call it a mortgage for a lack of a better word, a fixed number, a flat rate that will pay part principal and part interest. That band in 2021, in 10 years, when I now gather these 10 years, the band that I bought, or the bond I bought in 2021 should almost be complete, if not complete. Then it's like that house gets paid off and now I'm buying another house just to keep it in some type of simple-ish.
Okay. And that debt change, the percent we pay on that debt changes due to market conditions for every year?
So the band ones, yes, so every year we go out, we say we need to borrow, so this year when I go out, I will take last year's band that's gonna come due, take that amount, add this 1.8 to it, and then I go out for that full amount, and then people bid on it, and we get our best interest rate, and then we take that out for a year, and then next year, same process, I'll take everything I had up to 2026, plus whatever we decide to do in 2026, and go out for another year. And we always go out they're only for 1 year, and we get the best interest rate we can.
Okay. And then we were just talking about the tree fund, all those trees that they took down at that RPM site, how was that accounted for?
That was part of the
Part of the settlement.
settlement
Part of the
agreement.
settlement.
So we got nothing, okay, all right, thank you.
Bonnie Hook, 23 Jackson. I was gonna stay quiet, but I think I have a couple questions now. Two things, with all the building going on in Rockaway Borough, with the 77 apartments being built on Hill, and then everything that's going on with RPM, and a lot of other projects, and new apartments, new this, new that, how has our council in town planned for all this additional cost that we're gonna need for schools, police, DPW, everything? What are we doing to look forward, that we're not sitting in a mess in a year or two? Because we're approving a lot, and I'd like to know what our plans are.
So basically, right, I mean, continued plans, but, with the RPM, it's an over 55, so the impact of the schools will be minimal, if anything. We still need to look, with the project on 46, one of the things I did bring up in budget, right, we'll need to consider hiring maybe an extra police person, with the extra, folks coming into town.
What about the schools? The schools could handle, if there's 77 apartments, there could be 2 kids each apartment, minimum. What, are the schools gonna be able to handle these kids?
That's a great question for a Board of Ed meeting. I don't manage the Board of Ed or schools or things like that.
So we just sit here like a sitting duck and just wait and then let them struggle and find out? I mean, Mr. Hayes, maybe you can answer that since you're the school liaison. I'm sure you've told them what's going on, right?
They're well aware of what's going on. Last numbers they had, they're in the 570, 580 range, with number of students. 3-4 years ago, there were 630, 640. So there definitely is room for growth at the schools. I think your number of 2 per unit is a little ambitious, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not,
If you see 15 to 20 kids, I think.
you think that's it?
They can absorb it. I mean, I don't know the exact number of 1-bedroom units or 2-bedroom units, but I'm sure the planner, when he did his interview with the Land Use Board, explained all of that and gave them a number of what they thought it would be. I know the traffic was gone over, and again, it's all part of growth, and I don't, as long as it's zoned and it's properly zoned, there's not a lot we can do about it as a town.
I mean, we've negotiated for years with RPM, and originally
Yeah.
they came in wanting to put in 170 regular market rate apartments there. And that would have just, is your point to the schools, traffic, things like that. And over the years, that's where we landed where we are now with the over 55,
Okay,
73 units.
okay. And my other question was back to these trees again. We've asked different people different questions, and I keep getting different answers. Who is gonna negotiate the trees for the current, for the Hill Street or whatever, Hillside, whatever it's called up there?
I don't think it's a negotiation, I think it's written in the ordinance.
So, all right, so they're just gonna follow the ordinance and that's it, there's no negotiation? Okay,
My
Okay.
understanding is they may want to negotiate, and they could be saying they want to negotiate. The only way they can negotiate is to come to council and plead their case, and the council makes a decision.
thank you for that, because I'm not getting straight answers on that, and I appreciate that. That's why every time I got an answer, it was not going anywhere or nothing in stone. So, we know that they're just gonna follow the ordinance unless they come to a council meeting to negotiate.
Whatever's dictated at land use, right, for the tree removals and the number of trees, and then anything beyond that, they can appeal and come to council.
Okay, do we have an anticipation of an appeal, or?
I mean,
I haven't heard.
I haven't heard a thing about this.
Well,
I just heard that.
okay,
I
that's
heard
another,
questions.
okay, that's another good question. Mr. Hurley, I know you're the liaison for the, land use board. And I know because it was made clear at the last meeting that there's certain limitations of whether you can go to a meeting or not go to a meeting or whatever. I understand that. My thing is, I never even knew you were a liaison for all these years. I've never heard anything about the land use board. I've never heard anything reported. What can you tell us about that, and why doesn't the whole board know about all this, or why isn't it being reported in council? I understand you not being there because it's a conflict, but you can report what went on, right?
If I'm there,
I've been on council for 19 years, and we've never gotten a land use report.
Then why do we have a liaison?
Hey,
Maybe the mayor can answer that.
Well,
Because if you have a liaison,
he's
it's
not
not.
the lead, he's a sitting member of the land use board, as I am. But we're only allowed to hear certain applications. A lot of the, I guess, C and D variances, we're not allowed to participate in that.
So why isn't there any reports of that? Because the land use is a pretty important thing of things that are going on in town. Why is there no reports in council to tell us what's, going on?
because they're in the land use board minutes.
I mean, that's a public meeting itself,
It's a public meeting.
which I think you
It's an
attend.
appointed board.
I've always been told that we can't be privy to the full content of those meetings, so
right.
that's been my understanding all along.
Okay, well, I'll keep attending them then. I have no problem with that. That's fine, if that's the way you guys stand on that. All right, thank you very much.
Next comment. Any other comments from the public?
I have a question. Now that you're at the end of the budget, do you have the total number for the library remediation and the new dumpsters and that whole
Any other-
property veto?
What library?
The dumping? library?
Okay, I'm sorry, all right. No, I don't have a number for that. We're, still getting a quote from that. He's,
But as far as what
Director,
we
still okay.
put into the budget, I believe it was.
yeah, we put in $50,000. And that's not just for the library. Now, again, we, are probably going to be trucking everything out, that we were now, an option was taken away from us, it looks like. But we are still looking into what we can do.
So
And what was the other question?
you think the whole remediation and the new new dumpsters to haul it out and testing is 50,000 for the year?
I budgeted 50,000.
That's what we budgeted.
That's what you budgeted. You still don't know a number yet.
Not yet.
I think that's gonna be on a job-by-job basis.
Thanks, Rob. Any other comments from the public?
Hey, Kitty Clark, just to follow up on that question about the library remediation. So what's the 50,000 budgeted for right now?
Just pulling material out of there, testing.
For testing and removal. Testing and removal.
So that 50 grand that you took extra from the cannabis payment, where we need to pull it in to keep us within under 2%, is directly related to the library remediation efforts?
No.
And if- No?
Because I'm charging 25,000 to the water budget, which does not include it, and 25,000 into the regular
Okay.
budget.
So
Why are you charging it to the water budget?
Because it can come out for drawing water mains too.
From an issue that our DPW agreed, okay.
So it's not, so we're budgeting $50,000 for removal of dirt
Yeah,
and testing.
yes,
The The library just happens to be one of a project of maybe more.
Mhm.
So I'm not charging the
So
library.
Alright.
if we have water main breaks, you
Okay.
know, that will follow the same process.
Yes, I think that's more the issue, right, is we wanna know the cost implications of the library. And yes, you're talking about other water main breaks, are there other sites that you have to remediate? It's more about remediation, not about water main breaks and when you've got to dig up the road and get rid of that stuff. It's stuff in town right now that has been placed there illegally with solid waste in it. How much is that gonna cost the residents of this town?
We collectively budgeted 50,000 for that.
Okay, I think, like you said, if it's a job by job basis, it's something we can discuss at future council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, close the meeting to the public. Motion to go into close.
Motion to go and close.
Second.
Second.